Good evening. How everyone doing today? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma J. Spirit is Divine. I'm here to give you a word on today, and the topic is gonna be Rebecca giving God a hand. Now you know God don't need no help, but this is the story of Rebecca when she had the two twins, Esau and Jacob. So this story is about Rebecca, the wife of Isaac. Now during the first 20 years of their marriage, Rebecca remained fertile, meaning she couldn't even have no kids. You know, so so the so Isaac believed that God can able a barren woman to have children. Cause you see Isaac was a man of God, cause he know when he was a child. He know his daddy was a righteous man, always loved the God. So he believed that God can make Rebecca have a baby. So Isaac he prayed to the Lord on the behalf of his wife. Isaac cared and he loved Rebecca, which say much about the spiritual emphasis that they share. So Isaac prayed. He prayed to the Lord for them for Rebecca to have a baby. On the behalf of his wife. Now the Lord answered his prayers, and the wife Rebecca became pregnant. See, God don't waste no time. Sometimes He work fast and sometimes He don't. But the baby each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" The Lord said to her. So she feeling the baby in her, but it's feeling like two babies just in her, just moving around in her. So she asking God, "Why is this happen like this here?" Because she feeling like two babies jumping around in her. So God answered her and said, "The nation are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older one will serve the younger one." So that's why Jacob was always manipulating Esau. Had Esau mind up so his blessing to Jacob. He was the oldest. So new so now Rebecca is pregnant, and it was a moment that touched her deepest being. And as her hand pressed against her belly, that bounced with life. It bounced with life. Now she had been waiting for this for 20 years. In the first 20 years of their marriage, she could not have no children. So now after 20 years, she is pregnant. And not only pregnant with one, but pregnant with two. So for 20 years in her pregnancy was a great wonder of self-discovery and communion with her maker, with God, because remember Isaac had to pray to God for her to have this miracle baby. And she not only having one, she having two, you know. So God revealed there will be two twins. So God let her know it's gonna be two. Because she feeling all kind of babies jumping around in her, and she like, oh, what is going on? I don't just feel one. I'm feeling multiple babies just running around, jumping. So this was remarkable gift to Rebecca from the Lord. And down the line we're gonna see how she gonna mess that up. So the character of the children within her in the essence of her plan for their life. Now see she trying to make a plan for the children's life already. And that's what she gonna start messing up at. Cause we cannot manipulate our children's life. We have to let them live their life and let God guide them in the life that God planned for them. If God put two babies in her after she done waited 20 years for a baby, God have a plan for them. God said they're gonna be a nation. Now we know Jacob was a nation. His family was the nation, was the Israelite. Now we ain't hear too much about Esau after they come together after 20 years. We ain't hear nothing else out with Esau. So the problem lay in what she did with the information. Now God had told her, God told her that they're gonna be two in you. I mean two nations. For Rebecca tried to take her children's future out of God's hands and into her own hands. Now this is she about to do. Now she thank God need her help. Now she about to take, these two twins. Now she about to take the twins out of God's hands and put it in her hand. When God sent these two in her, placed these two in her as a nation. So that means God had a plan for these two boys. And the plan was set out right besides Jacob. Because we didn't hear nothing else with Esau, you know. So God could have Hannah the job. Hey, God can handle the job. But she wants to take control, and she's so excited that she have two twins. But then the two twins get here, she gonna love one and not the other. And you got two twins. You supposed to be loving both of those twins. So she had two boys, Esau and Jacob. So she had the children, Esau and Jacob, and they grew older in their own churches, revealed their own incarnation. So both boys' character. This the character of the boys. Now Esau had so little regret for his spiritual birthright that he sold it to Jacob for a bowl of soup. So he ain't even had no interest in his birthright. It's like he didn't even care. So when he was hungry, he asked Jacob for some food, and Jacob said, "Well, I give you some food, you give me your birthright." And instead of him arguing with Jacob and telling Jacob no, he just went on and gave it to him. He had little interest in his birthright. Now Jacob's character show his crafting nature by dumping his father with Rebekah urging and help. So he didn't do too much. And Esau was favored by um, Isaac, and Jacob was favored by Rebekah. And that's the number one separation right there. You're supposed to love both of your children, not a wife loving one and a daddy loving one. They're supposed to love both of these boys. That's what caused the separation. So Isaac, in his age, he's about to die. But first, he wants to bless Esau, because Esau was his favorite. Now he asked Esau to go out and catch some herbs and calves to cook him a bowl of soup. So Esau know how he like it. So why he talking to Esau, the mama in a corner, listen to everything. Now in her mind, she about to start manipulating something. So Isaac favored Esau, and he was good in the field. Rebecca favored Jacob. You know. Now Rebecca heard that Isaac was about to bless Esau, so she came up with a plan. You know, and she don't know. She don't know if she want to mix this up and cause this separation and this division. God already had a plan for these boys. God put two boys inside of her because God already see before you in your mother womb, God already have a plan for people's life. If God put two boys in her, that means God already had a plan for these boys, and she done messed the whole plan up. So everybody went two separate ways, and you got two boys want to fight among each other. That's wasn't God's plan. She thought she was helping God by taking control and try to take over the boys' career, over their life, and nothing was perceived as what God had wanted besides Jacob. Jacob was the only one on his side perceived because, Jacob produced Joseph. And Joseph was the one in Esau in Egypt. And Jacob's family was the ones to multiply and become that nation. Because that's why God said it was supposed to have been two nations. But it wound up one nation with Jacob's family. And we didn't hear nothing else with Esau. So Jacob's family did produce as a nation, the Israelites. All that came from Jacob. But she messed it up. It was supposed to have been two nations. Esau's supposed to have his nation. Jacob's supposed to have his nation. Well, Jacob had his nation. So she coming up with her plan and just forget about God's plan. Realize God had a plan, and these two boys plan while they was in her womb. God had a plan for them already. God already, when the baby was leaping and then it was just running around in her, God already told her, that's two nations inside of you. you know. But we only was able to see one nation, the side of Jacob family, because she done screwed it up and separate and had division to God plan didn't even come to light. Now Rebecca probably believed that her action furthered God's cause. She thought she was helping God. She did not realize she caused division and stripes that lasted for generations. Because she disregarded God's plan. And she came up with her own plan for these boys. Now she hearing that Isaac about to bless Esau. So she had to come up with a plan to get Jacob to get that blessing. And it's like, forget Esau, and Esau is her child too. First of all, you're not supposed to do favoritism on your children. And second of all, she should have never manipulated the plan for Jacob to get Esau blessed because God already had a plan for both of these boys. Both of these boys were two nations. God had a plan for them. We don't know what the plan was, but God do. She had the boys to be division, you know. So Isaac blessed Jacob instead of Esau. So Isaac's vision was dim, so he could not see, because of his age, and then, he was about to die. So Rebecca thought she had a perfect plan, helping God, but it only caused division, and now Esau wants to kill Jacob. Now you got two boys, two brothers, wants to fight among each other, wants to kill one another. She done caused all this separation, all this division, when she should have just left the situation alone and let Isaac bless Esau. How Isaac wanted to do it. She should have just left it alone because God already had a plan for both of the boys. Not just one. God had a plan for both of the boys. There was two nations that she separated and had it in division. So God have his own perfect plan, and it did not was able to come to pass. So Rebecca favored Jacob and her need to elevate Jacob. She wanted to elevate Jacob. Now it's prevailed that her from encourage, so by she's so busy trying to elevate Jacob, she forgot about you have a whole nother child. It prevent her from encourage and nurturing Esau. So she was so busy over was favoring on Jacob, she never took the time to really nurture Esau. Paid Esau no too much of attention. And Esau was favored by Isaac. So they both Isaac was both wrong too. So they both was parents that was wrong, favoring one child over another. Because really he should have blessed both of the boys. But they caused division of the boys growing up with one loving this one and one loving that one, and that's not how it's supposed to be. Now she thought she had a perfect plan, helping God, but God don't need help. All Rebecca did was cause division between two boys when they were supposed to be two nations, and she separated the two nations. Now we see here, never have favor on your kids. Because she done messed the plan up that God had for both of the boys. Both of the boys were two nations that's never had came to pass. Besides Jacob and his family was a nation. Now we don't even know what Esau was gonna become because we didn't hear nothing else besides Esau after 20 years. Then when they tried to renew back together. So now by her own activity, she missed out on the greatest joy of a mother can have, watching her sons grow up. Now, by her, to cause that division as a mother, and then that's a exciting moment when you have two twins. She should have been taking the time to love both of the boys. But why she called the division, one went that way, one went this way. So she never had a chance to see the boys grow up to be young men. She never had a chance to see their wife, the grandkids, none of that. Because she done messed the whole division up, by manipulating a plan that she took control of and she thought she was helping God out. So she missed out on them growing up as to be young men. So in two men of interrogate and set on pleasing God, and when she set Jacob away to Haran by her brother, she lost him for good, you know. And Esau didn't want to have nothing to do with it no more. So she the one manipulate the whole thing for Jacob to steal Esau blessing when the blessing was supposed to be for Esau. So not only did she didn't see them grow up, but after 20 years, Jacob and Esau decides to reunite again. But after they come to reunite, their mama was dead. So not only she wasn't able to see them grow up, she wasn't able to see them come back together. Because after 20 years, they did try to come back. They did came back together to see one another and put everything behind them. Then they had wives, children, and everything else. She missed out on all that from trying to come up with a perfect plan when she thought she was helping God, but she only hurt her own self because she caused division. Where she couldn't even see them grow up. She couldn't see their wives, their children. So she wasn't able to experience a mother as a grandmother to her grandkids. So Jacob and Esau were returning back together, but their mother Rebekah had died. Rebekah died before they were able to come back together after 20 years. So Rebekah tried to take over, but she missed out her boys growing up to be men. So I mean, you miss out on them growing up to be men. You miss out on their wives, your daughter-in-laws. You miss out on the grandkids. Because they had up some kids, both of them. They all came together. The wives, the children, all of them. And Sheena died. Sheena died before all that, to take place. You know. So Rebecca tried to manipulate the boys' lives when the boy's life was already mapped out from God. Because when she was pregnant, they were just leaping for joy in her belly. She asked God why so many leaping in her. So God had to tell her, that's two nations inside of you. So that means God already had a plan for those boys' life. If God already said there was two nations, God had a plan. God had a plan for them boys' life. And she manipulated the whole situation, thought she was helping God. Because she saw that Isaac was about to bless Esau, and she felt like she had to jump in, for Jacob to get blessed. But I still think Esau should have blessed both of the boys, and it wouldn't have been the mama jumping in to try to save Jacob when she thought, because Isaac favored Esau. And so he about to bless Esau, not realizing you had a whole nother son too. So both parents was in the wrong, and you're not supposed to favoritism children. You know, I'm gonna bless both of my kids. I'm not doing well. Both of my kids gonna get stuff. I'm not gonna just bless one. You know, I'm gonna bless both of them and the grandkids. If you got two children, you at your last day, bless both of them. It caused division where God plan couldn't even come in place. So Rebecca tried to manipulate the boy's life. Rebecca did to accomplish what we think is God's will in our children's life. See, when our children get grown, their children, they go their way. So when they get grown, we can't tell our children, look, I need you to be a doctor. Look, I need you to be a nurse. We got to let our children make their own choice. Because a lot of time God get involved, God touch their heart, and God leads them where He wants them to go. And see, that's what God was gonna do with these two boys. He was gonna lead them in the direction where they're supposed to go in. If God tell you that's two nations in you, I mean God had a plan for these boys, and it never could take place where God try to lead these boys because they hadn't went separate ways. One went this way, one went that way. Because she had caused division, and not only caused division, she hurt her own self because she couldn't even watch the twins grow up to be decent men. She couldn't even watch the daughter-in-law, so the grandkids. So and God plan wasn't able to proceed like He really wanted the two boys plan to come out be planned out because the mother had to jump in, thought she had a perfect plan, and she done messed the whole plan up. She done had everybody going different ways. And then when the time for them to reunite back together, then she was there. So she still wasn't able to see the kids, the boys grow up, wasn't even see her grandkids or none of that. So sometimes don't dip and dab in your children's life. Let them live their life. If you feel like your husband about to bless one, don't jump in because God was gonna jump in anyway. Because God already had a plan. And God was gonna bless Esau. God still had a plan for both of the boys. So both of them was gonna be rich, regardless if he blessed that one and not the other one. God still had a plan for both of the boys, still were gonna be rich. Isaac come from Abraham. Abraham. So God was gonna protect Abraham family. Anything will come from Abraham's seed. God was gonna have control of and bless. That's why God loved the Israelites so much. They come from Abraham. They come from Jacob. Come from Jacob. Because when Jacob was going to meet Joseph, he told Jacob to tell your family to multiply as a nation. Because that's what God promised when there was boys. They were supposed to be a nation. Now Jacob's family produced as a nation, but Esau turned out to be, we don't know what happened to Esau. But why Rebekah to jump in, the plan didn't even come out the way it was supposed to come out through God. So Rebekah also favored Jacob, and she didn't nurture on Esau, not at all. So when she heard that Esau was about to be blessed, she jumped on the wagon to manipulate, but only caused division. So I'm gonna read from Genesis 27, chapter 8, verse 10. Um, uh, so now, my son, listen carefully. So this one, Isaac was about to die when he's sending Esau out in the field to get the herbs and everything together to make him some soup. Listen carefully and do what I tell you. Go out to the flocks and bring me 2 choices of young goat, so I can prepare some tasty food for your father. Not just the way that he like it, and then to take it to your father. No, just Rebecca. This Rebecca manipulating the thing, this plan because she heard Isaac about to bless she heard Isaac about to bless Esau. So now she telling Jacob to go out to get the same stuff that Esau already in the field go and get. Can you remember Isaac told Esau to go in the field and get all the herbs and everything you need. So fix me this soup before I die, before I bless you. So she hearing all this here. So now she coming up with her plan and telling Jacob to go out there and do the same thing so she can hurry up and cook it for Isaac, so Jacob can get the blessing. So I can prepare some tasty food for your father just the way he like it, and then take it to your father to eat, so that he may give you his blessing before he die. And see that was her plan. She manipulated the whole thing by standing in the hallway, listen to Isaac saying he about to bless Esau, and she listened that what Isaac told Esau to go out in the field and get. So she told Jacob go out in the field and do the same thing, so he could get the blessing. So after 20 years, the boys about to return to meet each other, but their mom had died, and she was not about so she did not were able to see her boss after 20 years because of the division. So she wasn't even she didn't even live long enough to even see the boss. After 20 years she was gone. She did all that manipulating with the plan, and we wanted to see the full plan that God had for the boss. The God said I had they are nation. So we see that Jacob family, God told Jacob family, y'all go to Egypt and y'all multiply as a nation. And Israelite, it was thousands of them because they did multiply as a nation because that's what they were supposed to be as a child. God told them there are 2 nations. So that's why God told Jacob, tell your family to go multiply as a nation. That was God's plan. God already had a plan that there was going to be the Israelite enslaved. And then years later, God was going to have Moses to come and rescue. Really, Abraham was supposed to rescue the Israelite, but Abraham didn't even last long enough to follow the plans through. So he had to get Moses to try to rescue the Israelite from the slave. So God already had this mapped out. He already knew. Because remember, Jacob had that dream when he saw that ladder down. I preached on that months ago too. When he saw that ladder came down and stuff. And that's when God was telling him about his dream. He was kind of young then. He even had children then. But he saw that ladder and God was telling him, you're gonna be a nation. Your own generation gonna be a nation. And he didn't know what God was talking about because at the time he didn't have no children then. He was still young. That was after the wrestle. Remember, he was wrestling with the angel and stuff. And so down the line, he seen this ladder and seen God on top of that ladder. And God told him he was gonna be a nation. That he told him all this stuff was gonna be happening. God had told him that this place that you lying down on, you're gonna leave this place. But then you're going to come back. You remember I preached on that months ago. He told him you're going to come back. So Jacob probably didn't understand what God was saying then until he went through the process. He was already in Canaan. And that's what God was saying. You in Canaan. The place that you land on going to be treasure. But you're going to have to leave that place. But then you're going to return back to that place. And you remember that the ladder came down and God was telling him everything that was going to take place. And it did took place, because they was already in camp. You remember Jacob was already in camp, but Joseph was in Egypt, so that's why he told him, if you're going to leave Canaan, you're going to go to Egypt. But then you're going to come back. God was going to have the whole nation to come back to Canaan with treasury, with floating with milk and honey. And see, that's what he was telling them down the line when he got in his dream. So Joseph already know. So we don't know what happened to Esau. But we know God continued his plan on with Jacob. So a lot of time, when we have our children and stuff like that, let them make their choice. Because down the line, God will jump into their heart and lead them in a direction. They might fall off track, but God gonna always lead them back. Leads them back. I grow my children up in the church. They're straight away, but down the line, they always gonna go back to it. But Rebekah didn't allow the two boys, the plans to fall out that God had for them. She took it in her own hands and have control of it. And we weren't able to see the life of Esau, but we saw the nation of Jacob. He had a wonderful son of Joseph. Now, God already told him, you're going to have children, going to be a multiple of a nation. And Jacob didn't understand because he ain't had no children then. He was still young. Still was running around on the loose from Esau. So his plan came to place with Jacob, but we didn't hear anything about Esau because the mama manipulated the whole plan of the children's life, and they both went separate ways. So we don't want to be the kind of parents that Rebekah and Isaac, because Isaac had no business favoring Esau. She had no business favoring Jacob. They had both twins that they were supposed to love both together. So we see how Rebecca trying to take control instead of both of the parents, instead of them loving both of the boys, because having both twins was a blessing by itself. It was amazing to have both twins, and especially when God said both of them was gonna be a nation. Jacob's supposed to have a nation, Esau's supposed to have a nation, and two nations were supposed to come together. Whatever the plan was that God had, I don't know. Nobody but God know what that plan he had for both of these boys that got to be separated in the division from their mother. So I hope you enjoy this package, and I'll see y'all on the next video. And please, if you have children, you have twins or you just have two regular children back to back or whatever the case is. Do not favor both of the children because trust me, God have a plan for both of the children's life. Because God was gonna allow, even though Isaac was gonna bless Esau, both of the kids, both of the boys were gonna be blessed because God had a plan for both of the boys to be a nation. So that means they both are gonna be a nation. Both of them is gonna be blessed. And she thought God was gonna leave Jacob out. God was not gonna leave Jacob out because God had a plan for both of the boys. Because He said both of the boys are nations, and she took it into her own hands to separate the nation. So I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I see y'all on the next video.